To the Pillars of Honors program, we are happy to have with us today the Legacy Girls, who will take you back to the day and let you reminisce a little bit about the things that was happening back then when you were serving your country. The Legacy Girls come from Aurora, Illinois, and they've been together for about 5 years. And if you haven't heard them before, I guarantee you will enjoy and have a good listening experience, and we are so glad to have them with us today. So with no further ado, the Legacy Girls.
Well, literally translated, it means by me, you are beautiful. Well, you're welcome.
Okay. Okay. Here it was 1938 by Nearest to Shame.
Well, wait a second, I gotta get your names. What's your name? Eddie Ireland. And you were also? Dom, Arachella. Let's give it up for these guys. Oh my gosh, they're so handsome too. You know what? Our next song, I mean, we're going to sing Oh Johnny. And I have to say that Eddie is very close to Johnny, don't you think? So, sometimes I get too confused or so. So would you mind coming up and singing this next song with us? You don't mind? Or you say no, you won't do it? You don't have to sing, actually, all you have to do is sit there and be cute. You've already got that pretty covered.
That's right.
What do you think? Should we come up?
We also have to mention that this distinguished gentleman received, was it 3 Purple Hearts and 3 Silver Stars?
Thanks for being such a good sport. Let's give it up for Eddie.
so much for making time for us. We have one more song before we go, but I just wanted to tell you guys, we really do love you.
We love you, God bless you, and God bless America.
I take it you didn't care for them too much. Aren't they great? Give them a warm applause. My name's Steve Schaefer, and I'm president of Pillars of Honor, and we're proud to be here today to bring you your memorial. This is dedicated to all our World War II veterans, and we're here to give you your day of honor. I know a lot of you have not been able to travel to Washington, D.C. because of health reasons or because you just don't want to travel anymore. But we're glad to let you know about your memorial and bring you the World War II memorial experience. A lot of people, it takes a lot of people to put this program together, and first I want to thank Paul Herbert, the executive director, and the staff here at Cantigny, the First Division Museum, and beautiful grounds they have here. Isn't it beautiful here? And they picked a wonderful day. It's not too hot, a couple clouds, it's beautiful out there. So I hope you get an opportunity to tour around the museum and some of the grounds outside. I want to thank, of course, the Legacy Girls, our vocalist David and his son Anthony for being with us today, all our Pillars of Honor volunteers, Larry Buttimer from the Bugles Across America, our speaker, General Mukiyama, who you'll hear a little bit more about in a little while. And I want to thank the most important people in this room, our World War II veterans, for coming out here today. You taught us what it was to be patriotic, and for that, we're grateful. You taught us, and my dad used to tell me what I was supposed to do and wasn't supposed to do, and he said, well, you got to serve your country when you get old enough, and he always was a proud Navy person. And he taught me what love of country is all about. Go into the military, don't cry about it, do what you're supposed to do what you need to do, and come home and enjoy the rest of your life. We hope that you have enjoyed the rest of your lives, and we'll continue to do that. And we are so grateful for leading the way. Thank you very much.
Color guard, prepare to present colors.
At this.
To all of you who can rise, please do.
Present arms, John.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, John. John. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. Host colors.
God, we thank you for the friends and families that are with us today. We thank the people that provided the room, prepared the food, made the program possible. But we are especially grateful for our World War II veterans that are with us today. They gave us our freedoms that we still enjoy today. We ask your blessings and protection for those men and women that are serving in the armed forces of the United States of America, and for comfort and support for the families that are here at home. Amen.
Good afternoon. Oh, nice, cheerful voices. My name is Suzanne Stanitz, and I'm a board member with Pillars of Honor. And it's my honor to thank all of you for coming today. In October 1943, almost exactly 68 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, this young man was working in his family grocery store. It was in Maywood, Illinois, and he got his draft notice. He left home on D-Day, departed for Europe from Boston. While in the infantry, he served his country in France, England, and Germany. Most notably, he fought for us in the Battle of the Bulge. In his words, he did what he needed to do, and he weathered the storm. And I think those are quotes that so many of you have probably made or thought in your own minds. He returned to the United States in March 1946. There was no parade, no confetti, no crowds, no one to welcome him, but waiting for him was his mother and dad and his loving family. He waited a number of years to get married. He says he got the best of the lot. His beloved wife, Mary, has since passed away. This humble soldier is an Army Sergeant James Apostolopoulos, and he is with us today. While Sergeant Apostolopoulos, I knew I would say it wrong, even though I practiced and practiced. Apostolopoulos was making his way to Europe, another young man who coincidentally had a family who also owned grocery stores in the Chicago area, left his family and made his way to the West Coast. He departed the United States from California, and he served his country in the Pacific, repairing big guns. He still remembers guns going off all night, and maybe some of you remember that also. His service to our country took him to the Philippines, Manila, and Australia, where he met his bride-to-be, Maggie. This young Army corporal returned home on New Year's Eve, 1945, and Maggie was waiting for him. His name is Donald Mergler. Don went on to become a Chicago firefighter, and he too is with us today. Pillars of Honor was organized after a small group of Chicago area people realized how very many of our World War II veterans are unable to take that long trip to Washington, D.C. to enjoy their World War II model. It seems like a long way out there to Washington, D.C. We are getting frail, and our health is not what it was. When the memorial was built, finally, almost 60 years after the war you so valiantly fought was over. We humbly welcome each of you today, all 45 World War II veterans. You fought in major battles. You were in the Pacific Theater, like Donald. You were in the European Theater, like James. You served in the United States. You flew bombers. You sailed in battleships. You walked in freezing cold and brutal heat. You cooked, you typed, you filed, you repaired vehicles, you drove vehicles, you repaired equipment, you made strategic decisions, you did what you needed to do and what you were asked to do. You literally went all over the world to fight for the freedom we, your children, your grandchildren, your friends and neighbors enjoy today. For whatever you did, it's our turn to thank you. The Board of Directors and volunteers of Pillars of Honor would like to thank all of you for coming out on this rainy day, for giving up your Sunday afternoon to join us in honoring each one of these, our 45 World War II veterans. Please enjoy the program, and again, help me thank them by welcoming them. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeff Reese. I'm a former Marine that served in the first Gulf conflict. Since the beginning of our nation, Americans have always fought to defend our freedom. Americans have always stood tall when called to defend our land. We salute our veterans who solemnly swore they would support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that they would bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and they should obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of officers appointed over them, according to the regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They end this time-honored, reverent oath by saying, "So help me God." Pillars of Honor now presents a salute to our patriots. When you hear your service song, please rise, if you are able, and remain standing until the completion of the flag presentation. United States Army. We will hit the dusty trail, and the army goes rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, counter marching all apart, and the army goes rolling along. For it's hard in the field artillery. Now your numbers are in song. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and wherever goes rolling along. The United States Navy. Anchors away, my boys, anchors away. Farewell to promised shores, we sail at break of day, through our last night on shore. United States Coast Guard. Coast Guard. United States Air Force. United States Marine Corps. Please be seated.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Marty Jane. I'm a Vietnam veteran from Park Ridge, Illinois, but I'm a proud son of a World War II veteran, and it's an honor to be with these warriors of World War II. If I may draw your attention to our battlefield monument to my right, we are a country steeped in tradition. The service flags posted represent all men and women who made the supreme sacrifice in the service to their country from all branches of the service. The central part of the monument is the weapon. The weapon has been inspected, the magazine removed. The last round has been fired. The military identification tags are commonly referred to as dog tags. This set is blank, no name, no serial number, or religious preference. These dog tags represent all those who have died in service to their country. The helmet, a valuable piece of equipment, more than just protection. How many have shaved, bathed, and even cooked in it? This helmet will no longer be used. The boots were worn and demonstrate the trials endured. These boots, which are tread-bare and shall never again touch the ground, which is why they are placed on the sandbag. Entering the flag. The folded flag will be placed on the boots, not touching the ground. The flag honors all men and women from the 5 branches of the service that have made the ultimate sacrifice. The empty chair draped with the WWII flag, is to honor those who have not yet returned to their homes and families. May they stay in our prayers and memories forever. Thank you.
The battle's o'er and peace is all around you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. The cannon's roar can never more disturb you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. Your journey is ended, your work here is done. Sleep, soldier boy, and rest. Your flag you defended, the victory you won. Sleep on among the blessed. The sun's gone down and darkness has enclosed you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. A mother's arms are waiting to enfold you. Sleep, soldier boy, sleep on. The time is not long when the bugle will sound forth, mustering you back again. You'll wake with the dawning and answer to roll call. Sleep, soldier boy, till then. Sleep in peace, soldier boy, till the bugle calls you with the dawn. Sleep and rest. God is nigh. Soldier boy.
Doing the stuff that we do with this organization and some of the other organizations that we're all involved in lets us have the opportunity to meet a lot of great people, a lot of nice people that we wouldn't have been able to ever meet if it wasn't for coming to these kinds of things and interacting with you all. And with us today is Major General James H. Mukiyama, Jr. He was born in Chicago, Illinois on August 3rd, 1944. He's retired from active Federal Army Reserve status since 1995 and after over 30 years of total active and reserve component service in the Army. He was commissioned as a regular infantry second lieutenant in 1965. Upon graduation from the University of Illinois with a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Literature. During his 5 years on active duty, General Mukiyama served as a platoon leader in a demilitarized zone in the Republic of Korea and as an infantry company commander in the 9th Division in Vietnam. His Army Reserve service of nearly a quarter of a century included several command and staff positions to include battalion, brigade, and division command. He was the youngest general officer in the entire United States Army in 1987, and subsequently the youngest Major General when he received his second star 3 years later. In 1989, he became the first Asian American in the history of the United States to command an Army division. His division, the 70th Training Division, located in the state of Michigan and Indiana, was mobilized at Fort Benning, Georgia, to participate in Operation Desert Storm in January of 1991. Among General Mukiyama's decorations and badges are the Distinguished Service Medal, Silver Star, Legion of Merit, 3 Bronze Stars, Purple Heart, Parachute Badge, Expert Infantryman's Badge, and Combat Infantryman's Badge. In civilian life, General Mukiyama has been in the securities industry for over 3 decades and is a former member of the New York Stock Exchange and the Chicago Board of Options. He is presently the Executive Vice President and Chief Compliance Officer of Regal Security in Glenview, Illinois. General Mukiyama is active in various veterans and community organizations and serves on national boards. He is listed in marquee Who's Who in America. It's a great honor to present General Mukiyama.
Well, thank you so much, Steve, for that generous introduction. I can hardly wait to hear myself speak. This introduction reminds me of a story concerning General MacArthur and Admiral Nimitz during World War II in the Pacific. They were in a fishing boat off the Philippine Islands. Suddenly, a squall comes up and capsized their boat. As it turned out, neither one of them could swim very well, so they both flailed in the water for some time. Finally, General MacArthur climbed back into the boat, and he helped Admiral Nimitz out of the water. "Mac," said Admiral Nimitz, "please don't mention this incident to anyone. I would be absolutely mortified if my sailors discovered that I couldn't swim." "Well, don't worry, Chester," replied the general. "Your secret is safe with me. You see, my soldiers would be shocked if they knew I couldn't walk on water." Now, I believe that geographic setting for that story leads us nicely into our discussion today about World War II. Today, I will reflect on the experience of my specific ethnic group, the Japanese Americans. My presentation will consist of a brief historical review prior to World War II, the tragic and heroic events which occurred during the war itself, the subsequent responses of both the Japanese Americans and our nation, and an opportunity for all of us to help prevent such injustices in the future. Now, first, I'm going to kind of give you a brief language lesson in Japanese. The numbers for 1, 2, and 3 in Japanese are ichi, ni, and san. So repeat after me. Ichi is, 1 is ichi, ichi. Okay, 2 is ni, and 3 is san, san. Okay, now you can all leave here saying you speak Japanese, okay? Now, the word for generation is sei, S-E-I, sei. So the term Issei refers to the first generation of Japanese to live in the United States. They're the immigrants who came from Japan. My father was Issei. Their children, or the second generation to live in America, were called Nisei. Keep in mind, these are American citizens who were born in this country. The Nisei were actually the first generations to be born in the country and therefore American citizens. The children of the Nisei, or the third generation to live in this country, are called Sansei. So we have Issei, Nisei, and Sansei. Okay, so the tide of prejudice and discrimination against Japanese in the United States had its origin actually in the anti-Chinese mania in the West Coast during the latter part of the 19th century. in which Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882, which effectively limited Chinese immigration to this country. It didn't take long for this anti-Asian feeling to be reflected against the Japanese. In 1900, Hawaii was annexed by the United States. This, in effect, freed thousands of Japanese contract laborers on Hawaii sugarcane plantations, and many of them swarmed to the United States mainland. The Japanese government, noting American concern, dramatically reduced the number of immigrants to America. But in 1905, the San Francisco Chronicle, one of the most influential publications on the West Coast, published the most blatant examples of yellow journalism in our nation's history. The first headline in a series of articles read, quote, "The Japanese invasion, the problem of the hour," unquote. Other headlines warned, quote, "Japanese, a menace to American women. Brown artisans steal brains of whites. Crime and poverty go hand in hand with Asiatic labor," unquote. Now, as a result of those articles, both houses of the California legislature passed a unanimous resolution asking Congress to limit the further immigration of the Japanese. An Asian Exclusion League was formed in San Francisco, and anti-Japanese bills were introduced in every biennial session of the California legislature for the next 4 decades. Now, official sanctions and legislation against the Japanese in America then came in a steady flow. In 1908, the Japanese government was forced to accept the so-called Gentleman's Agreement with the United States, which restricted the flow of immigration. The Alien Land Law of 1913 prohibited the Japanese from owning land or homes, and further, from leasing land for any period in excess of 3 years. In 1924, the Japanese were barred from becoming naturalized citizens. They could not become naturalized citizens by the Immigration Exclusion Act. Thus, the historical stage was set for the tragic events of World War II, set in motion by the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor. 2 months after the surprise attack, none of the predictions of an attack on the West Coast nor subversive acts by Japanese Americans on the West Coast had occurred. But instead of rewarding the Issei and Nisei for their loyalty, in February of 1942, Presidential Executive Order 9066 permitted the Secretary of War to evacuate all people of Japanese ancestry from the West Coast. It specifically referred to all Japanese aliens and, quote, non-aliens, unquote. In other words, including American citizens. To this day, I still wonder about that phrase, non-aliens. The Issei and Nisei, keeping faith in our democratic processes, obeyed the order of their government and complied in an orderly manner. They immediately sought relief, however, through our judicial system. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court of the United States basically folded its tents and found the order constitutional, thereby ruling against the American citizens of Japanese descent and their parents. Imagine this scenario. You are in your home on a Friday evening, and you get a knock on your door. It is an FBI agent who basically informs you that you must report to the intersection of Winfield Road and Gulf Road on Monday morning at 8:30. You are permitted to bring only 2 suitcases. You have no idea where you are going or how long you're going to be there. That is exactly what happened to the Isseis and Niseis. And most of them did not return for over 3 years. Some of them never. Now, the Japanese, both aliens and citizens, were herded into trucks and buses. There was a total of approximately 120,000, 70,000 of whom were American citizens. Some were put in horse stables at the Santa Anita racetrack. They were then shipped to so-called quote, relocation centers, unquote, into godforsaken desert areas in states such as Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, and Arkansas. These were actually your basic no-frills concentration camps, with barbed wire fences and towers manned with machine guns, pointing in, not pointing out. The interior of the 10 camps were lined with tar paper shacks. Community leaders, such as ministers and teachers, were separated from their families and placed in separate camps. Able-bodied men were refused induction into the military services. They wanted to join, but they were refused induction and were classified as enemy aliens. In fact, those already in uniform were released or given menial non-combat duties because they didn't trust them. In the midst of all this, the Japanese Americans remained staunchly loyal to their country. They mounted patriotic war bond drives and planted victory gardens in the desolate, barren desert camps. And what wondrous opportunity should then appear at the camps? The local Army recruiter asking you for volunteers to go die for their country. Now, I frankly don't know how I would have answered, but the Nisei responded in overwhelming numbers to their country's call to arms. They formed first the 100th Infantry Battalion, made up mostly of Hawaiians, and then the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, with volunteers from the relocation centers from the mainland, as well as more from Hawaii. Others with Japanese language skills joined the Military Intelligence Service, or the MIS. Now, the 100th Battalion and 442nd Regimental Combat Team fought in the European Theater of Operations in Italy, France, and Germany. And I don't have to tell these gentlemen and women from World War II about the 442nd, because they know about it. Because when you're in a combat zone, the reputation of units, good units or bad units, spread like wildfire. You know who the good units are. The records of the 100th and 442nd of valor and gallantry made them the most highly decorated combat unit of its size in the history of the United States Army. These patriots, many of whose wives, mothers, and fathers were living behind barbed wire in the United States, established the following record. Now, keep in mind, a regimental combat team is authorized about 250 officers and 4,000 enlisted. So think about 4,000 people in this unit. Bronze Stars, 4,000, with 1,200 oak leaf cluster. An oak leaf cluster is a duplicate award. In other words, if you have 2 Bronze Stars, you have a Bronze Star with 1 oak leaf cluster. Silver Stars, 560, with 28 oak leaf clusters. Distinguished Service Crosses, 33. Congressional Medal of Honor, 20. Purple Hearts, remember I told you 4,000 in the unit? 9,486. Presidential Unit Citations, 7. The most famous accomplishment among countless exploits was the saving of the so-called Lost Battalion of the Texas National Guard, the 36th Red Bull Division. The Texans had been surrounded by the Germans in rugged mountainous terrain in France, and several units had been sent to rescue the lost battalion, but none had succeeded. Finally, the 442nd was given the task, and after its bloodiest single battle of the war, the Nisei unit rescued the surviving 211 members of the Texas Battalion. But in so doing, the 442nd sustained over 800 casualties. The motto of the 100th and 442nd was "Go for broke," which is Hawaiian slang for shoot the works in a crap game. The Nisei members of the Military Intelligence Service also served their nation gallantly in the Pacific Theater. And we only found out about this within the last 30 years or so because being in military intelligence, they were sworn to secrecy. Their linguistic and cultural expertise contributed immensely to the successful prosecution of the Pacific Campaign. In fact, their contribution has been said by General MacArthur's Chief of Intelligence, Major General Willoughby, to have shortened the war in the Pacific with Japan by 2 years, thereby saving countless thousands of lives on both sides. The result of the Nisei sacrifices in blood was a resounding confirmation of the unquestioned loyalty of Japanese Americans. This was further substantiated by the fact that not one single case of espionage against the United States was ever proven against a Japanese American during World War II. The millions of soldiers who served overseas with the Nisei came back home and told their friends and families about the accomplishments of the Nisei soldiers, and therefore Japanese Americans were more readily accepted into the fabric of American society after the war than they would have otherwise. After the conclusion of World War II, the Iseis and Niseis concentrated on rebuilding their lives. They returned to school, entered new lines of work, and moved to other geographic interior areas of the country, such as Chicago. Although having every right to be bitter, they chose instead to assimilate into our society and to succeed through education and hard work. They subsequently instilled this work ethic into my generation, the Sanseis. They unlocked the doors of equal opportunity closed to them. As a result, we have Japanese Americans in both houses of Congress, and I had the honor to be the first Asian American to command a division in the history of our Army. As you may know, we subsequently have had an Army Chief of Staff who is Japanese American. His name is Rick Shinseki, and he is now the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the Department of Veterans Affairs. And the hard-earned acceptance in society by the Japanese Americans has helped all Asian Americans to gain more opportunity in our society. So today, Asian Americans are successful in every walk of life. Their children excel in school, and they experience significantly lower rates of crime, delinquency, and public welfare than in the rest of society. But there's no inscrutable, mysterious Oriental formula for their success, nor are they innately more intelligent than other racial groups. The basic reasons for the success of this group are emphasis on the family unit, the importance of education, and a spiritual foundation upon which to proceed in life. I would conclude my comments on a very positive note about our nation. In the late 1980s, our Congress passed a law which included a formal apology to the Japanese Americans for the internment and provided for a monetary compensation to each of the remaining living internees. In addition, in 1992, Congress authorized the building of a memorial in our nation's capital to honor the patriotism, loyalty, and contributions of Japanese Americans during World War II to our nation. In 1998, the federal government transferred the to the National Park Service a 3/4 of an acre parcel of land located just a 5-minute walk from the Capitol building for the purpose of this memorial. I had the honor to serve as Vice Chairman of the Board of Directors of the National Japanese American Memorial Foundation, the nonprofit organization responsible for building the memorial, and I'm pleased to tell you that this memorial is now in existence in Washington, D.C. It does not glorify war, nor does it glorify an ethnic group, but rather celebrates the greatness of our nation for recognizing and apologizing for a grave injustice, and to act as a historical educational reminder for future generations. Today, I've attempted to briefly review the history of Japanese Americans in this country during World War II in order to remind us of what injustices we must prevent from ever happening again in this great nation against any of our citizens based on race. I've also been able to publicly acknowledge my personal heroes in life. These gentlemen who served and women who were in the armed forces during World War II of Japanese American descent I stand on their shoulders. I could not have become a general officer in the military if it wasn't for them. They opened the doors of equal opportunity for me. I would also like to publicly acknowledge we have a member of the 100th Battalion, 442nd. The gentleman is sitting right there in the 4th row. And thank you. So I recognize the great service of our World War II veterans. It's been an honor to address you all, and I always close my presentations by asking the good Lord to continue to bless our country, and God bless America. Thank you.
General, it's an honor and a privilege to have you with us today, along with the other World War II veterans. I'm Jerry Skorsky. I'm a Vice President of Pillars of Honor. I live in Elmwood Park. I'm an Army veteran along with my brothers. We proudly served our country in the United States Army. Honored World War II veterans, Pillars of Honor is happy to be here today and present to you this scale model of your memorial in Washington, D.C. This is the model that Senator Bob Dole presented to Congress for final approval for the memorial's design. This first picture is your memorial taken from the top of the Washington Monument. On the left side, you see the Pacific Archway. On the right is the Atlantic Archway. The plaza of the memorial is 337 feet long, 240 feet wide. There are two objectives that govern the design of the World War II Memorial. First and foremost, it honors a generation of Americans who changed forever the face of American life and the direction of world history. The second objective is the setting of the memorial into its preeminent context on the center line of the National Mall. The competition-winning design concept provides for a lowered memorial plaza that has a distinct sense of place. It not only allows maintaining the sweeping views between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument, but frames and celebrates them. It was long overdue. But know that you serve the grateful nation during some of our most trying times our nation has ever experienced. Also know that you are veterans of our greatest generation, led by example, and showed the rest of the country what patriotism was all about. Your memorial is a result of a design competition. Friedrich St. Florian, the world-known architect, was born in 1932 in Austria. He moved to the United States in 1961, where he became a U.S. citizen in 1973. His entry for the design of the memorial was chosen from over 400 entries. Your memorial adds to an entirely new type of memorial to Washington's unique memorial landscape. The peaceful gathering space around the basin of the rebuilt historic Rainbow Pool with its splashing fountains invokes celebration and contemplation. The basin of the pool is sunk 6 feet below grade. The grade contains sacred ground. It contains ground from all of our national cemeteries. The memorial celebrates a triumph of democracy in the 20th century while enriching the lives of all those who visit. The design development of the World War II Memorial between 1997 and 2002 was perhaps the most closely monitored design process of any major public monument in the history of the National Mall. 3 major commissions and federal agencies acted as guardians of public interest as well as standard bearers for the design excellence and urban design integrity. There were 22 public hearings that the public at large was invited to attend before the commissions and the federal agencies voiced their own opinions. Public involvement was reflected in nearly 1,000 newspaper articles across the country.
Here is Senator Bob Dole, himself a World War II veteran. He was the man behind the movement to have the World War II memorial built. Without his efforts, the memorial would have never been made possible. Here is a ground-level shot of the memorial looking from the Washington Monument towards the Lincoln Memorial. One of the issues in the placement of the memorial was that people were afraid it would spoil the open and clear view from the Washington Monument to the Lincoln Memorial. As you can see, it definitely didn't spoil anything. It actually beautified the view. Here you see a view from ground level of your memorial. The Memorial Plaza is the centerpiece of the memorial. The surrounding stone structures stand tall and silent like guardians that protect and preserve the legacy of World War II. The stone arches are full of meaning. Two pavilions, one at the north, one at the south of the plaza, represent two principal theaters during World War II: the Atlantic European Theater and the Pacific Asiatic Theater. These pavilions honor the men and women who fought the war. Suspended laurel wreaths in each of the pavilions act as metaphors for the victorious warriors coming home. Finally, there are the waterworks, the fountains, the waterfalls, the pools. They are the anima of the memorial. Their joyous animation, sound, and movements are celebratory in nature, recalling one of our nation's finest hours. Still, there's a fine line between celebration and glory. Wars must be remembered, but never glorified. Wars are destructive upheavals, causing unspeakable suffering to families around the world. There are times, however, when a free people are called to depend or defend their principles and ideals. World War II was such a moment in our time. This is a picture of a bronze medallion under the archways that are at the entrances to the memorial. Here, two archways, the Pacific and the Atlantic, represent the two main theaters during World War II. These arches are 43 feet tall. Standing under them, looking out at the basin of the memorial, is an awesome view. People feel very small. This is the Pacific Archway. Going down the walkway into the memorial on the left are pillars representing 48 states and the 8 territories during World War II. From the archway, the 4th pillar represents the state of Illinois. This is the Pacific Archway looking through to the Atlantic Archway. You can see the size of the people compared to the archway itself. The pavilions are surrounded by 56 stone pillars that are 17 feet tall. Each pillar represents a state or a territory during World War II. This is called the roll call of the nation, the home front standing in the active embrace, bonded at the bottom with a symbolic bronze rope. Here is the Atlantic Archway looking towards the Washington Monument. At the western side of the Memorial Plaza is the Wall of Freedom. There are 4,048 sculpted gold stars that remind future generations of the supreme sacrifice without which victory could not have been achieved. Each star represents 100 Americans who died during World War II. 404,800 Americans. A loving sacrifice made by so many, as well as their families. This truly beautiful view was taken behind the Wall of Freedom towards the Washington Monument. This is the tablet at the top of the grassy area going down to the memorial area. It reads, "Here in the presence of Washington and Lincoln, one the 18th century father, the other the 19th century preserver of our nation, we honor those 20th century Americans who took up the struggle during World War II and made the sacrifices that perpetuate the gift our forefathers entrusted to us. a nation conceived in liberty and justice. There are 16 different quotes engraved on the memorial. This one is by Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. It reads, "They fought together as brothers in arms. They died together, and now they sleep side by side. To them, we have a solemn obligation." Another inscription by the Atlantic Archway. "The war's end. Today the guns are silent. A great tragedy is ended. A great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death. The seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere walk upright in sunlight. The entire world is quietly at peace." Here's a quote by President Harry S. Truman. "Our debt to the heroic men and valiant women in the service of our country can never be repaid. They have earned our undying gratitude. America will never forget their sacrifice." This is a nighttime view of the Washington Monument. The inscription is by Franklin D. Roosevelt about Pearl Harbor. December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people, in their righteous might, will win through to absolute victory. Here's a shot of the center pool fountains, the very living center of your memorial. Here we have one of the bas-reliefs on each side of the grassy area going up towards the Washington Monument. Each of the bas-reliefs are handcrafted out of bronze, depicting different scenes during World War II. One of the bronze reliefs shows infantrymen somewhere in the jungles of South Africa. Transportation. Military women. Anti-aircraft turrets. The Army Air Corps. Paratroopers. A beach landing. Do you know this guy? Most people think from this generation that this is just a silly drawing. Do you know that there was one person who led or participated in every combat mission, every training mission, or occupation during World War II and the Korean War? This person could always be depended on. GIs began to consider him Super GI. He was the one who got there first, or somehow was there before they left. I'm, of course, referring to Kilroy. Kilroy was here. Somehow this simple graffiti captured the imagination of GIs everywhere they went. This scribbled cartoon face showed up everywhere. Did you know but there was a real Kilroy? He wasn't a cartoon. Kilroy was actually James J. Kilroy, a shipyard inspector during World War II. He chalked the words on bulkheads to show that he had been there and inspected the riveting on a newly constructed ship, that it was safe to leave the factory. The troops on those ships, however, never knew his story. All they knew for sure was Kilroy was there. In reality, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of Kilroys who worked in our factories, providing the equipment and materials needed for our men to be successful. There's no doubt that the original urban design strategy, which was to create a public forum, an open, welcoming plaza, is the memorial's greatest asset. It is a forum that invites visitors to contemplate, reflect, and remember what has transpired in the past. Set between the iconic and towering memorials of President Lincoln and Washington, it speaks to the continuity of the ideals and principles of our founding fathers. Ladies and gentlemen, today we present to you the World War II Memorial. The World War II Memorial is not a memorial to war. It is rather a memorial to those who served to preserve our nation, those who paid the ultimate price of freedom for you and for me. The World War II veterans in this room today played a big part, a very important part, in serving our country. Men, women, thank you for your service to our country.
Can I have all the Pillars of Honor board members please come up here a second? This small group is the hardworking group that starts the work on all these programs along with all our other volunteers. And we're here today to do a special presentation. And at this time, I would like the Golden family to please come up here. Don't break it. Without Mr. and Mrs. Barry Golden and a lot of our other supporters, we would not be able to continue to do this program and carry it to wherever World War II veterans are. So we'd like to present to Mr. and Mrs. Barry Golden for their generous support of Veterans and Pillars of Honor in 2011 this award. Thank you very much. And we kept it a secret from Jill because she's even though she's a board member, she didn't know we were going to do this today. But it was great to have these guys with us today. And without Barry and Jill and so many other people, like I said, we would not be able to continue to carry out this program. And you're so generous and so gracious, and we thank you very much for all you do.
Thank you.
Can we say something?
Yes.
No, come here. Wow, I am caught off guard. And I do cry at all the events, I promise you that. It is a privilege to be in this room, and I thank each and every one of you on behalf of my family, my children, my grandchildren to come, and our future generations. For without your dedication, and you're all so humble, and you said it was just my job, for that we are so forever grateful. Thank you all very much.
I echo.
So at this time, to close us out, again, we wish you all well. We thank you for participating in our program and being one of the greatest generations in supporting our country and our flag and teaching us what we need to do. And I don't always like to do this, but we do have a table out back that we have some memorabilia items that if you would like to purchase them or make a donation to Pillars of Honor so we can continue this mission. Time is running out on us. We're here to do it, and we need the support to continue on our mission. So if you care for any of our memorabilia items, maybe as a gift, a Father's Day gift, or would you care to make a donation in honor of somebody, we'd love it. So whatever you could do, we're glad you're here, and enjoy the rest of this beautiful day and your memorial when you come up here. Thank you. We're going...